tight security, protests, awkward group photos, and some even more awkward handshakes.
You did very well last night then, my God, that was a difficult one.
They are the familiar features of these annual meetings of global leaders. But what actually is the G7? Well, it stands for the Group of Seven, but it started out life as the Group of Six. Formed in 1975, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the US and the UK were the initial members. The G6 became the G7 in 1976 when Canada joined, and then it became the G8 in 1998, with post-Soviet Union Russia welcomed into the club. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a second, why all of a sudden is it G7 again? Well, in 2014, Russia was kicked out in response to its annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. G7 leaders take it in turns to hold the presidency each year, and whoever is the president hosts the meeting and, broadly speaking, sets the agenda. The leaders spend a couple of days in a luxury hotel in a remote location holding meetings and press conferences. Then they try and agree what's called a joint communique, a statement setting out their position on things like climate change, counter-extremism, or confronting global health challenges like malaria or AIDS. Well, the short answer is no. Indeed, in recent years, disagreement and disunity have defined proceedings far more than unity. That was in no small part down to this guy. At the 2018 summit in Canada, Donald Trump arrived late and left early. He had a row with other leaders over trade tariffs and his desire for Russia to be readmitted.
But I think it's much more appropriate to have Russia in. It should be the G8 because a lot of the things we talk about have to do with Russia.
He ended up withdrawing his support for the joint communique. Now, although the official member list is currently limited to 7 countries, the invite list is a bit bigger than that. Leaders of other nations often join, with Australia, Spain and India regularly in attendance, as well as the President of the EU Commission. But there are questions about whether the G7 ought to be more inclusive, particularly when it comes to representatives from African and Latin American countries. For that reason, the G20 is rising in prominence. It's not been around for as long and is more focused on issues like markets and finance rather than wider politics. But its membership includes the major emerging economies of Brazil, India, Mexico, South Africa, and not least China. Many analysts suggest that while the G7 still sets the agenda for the global discussion, increasingly it's the G20 where the real business gets done.